Do you ever have a bunch of stuff that you need to get done and it's of various importance and you don't know which to do first? I believe in medical terms that is called triage. And I don't always know what the right answer is, but I do know one thing, and that is wasting time on the internet instead of just picking any of your tasks is the worst option. So what I typically do if I can't decide is I take the first task in front of me and I just do it. No matter how long it takes, no matter how simple it is, no matter how unimportant it is, just do that one first so that at least you have one of the tasks done. Because invariably, getting on the internet just leads to like 30 minutes of doing nothing when you could have just done 30 minutes of the least important task and at least had something done. So to that end, I'm going to pick a task and just do it. But before that, Unicorn Overlord. Never heard of Vanillaware before? They make these games with incredible art. I was a fan ever since Odin Sphere. I didn't actually play that game, but I remember looking at it just being like, what is this beautiful art that I'm seeing? But from Muramasa onwards, I played all of their games. Unicorn Overlord, I haven't even played it yet though, because it overlapped with Rebirth, but look at this though. They created an entire card game for this collector's edition. What type of madness is this? To be honest, I actually often don't look at what is in a collector's edition before I buy it. I just know that if it's a game that I really want and I really want to support the developers, I'll get the big boy edition. And I don't disagree that that is probably a mental illness that I feel like I need to have a collector's edition. But sometimes it is very fun to have the collector's edition as opposed to the standard. Okay, let's pick a task. Let's do it. I've shown this to you yet, but this is an OLED Steam Deck. If you do not know what a Steam Deck is, it's basically like a Nintendo Switch only for computer games. When the original was announced, I thought it was pretty interesting and definitely something I would want, but it only had an LCD screen. And I have been spoiled by OLED screens to the point where I didn't even really consider the original Steam Deck. But as soon as they announced the one with the OLED, there was no stopping me. And let me tell you, I love this thing. Huge, beautiful screen, just like an infinite library. And recently, I finally set up remote play with my PlayStation 5. If you have not used PlayStation 5 remote play, I highly encourage you to check it out. Now, remote play outside of the house is kind of hit or miss. Oh, well, maybe it's not hit or miss. I'm streaming my PlayStation 5 from my house over the internet, and it is basically lag-free at 1080p, 60 frames per second. What a time to be alive! I feel like internet technology is really becoming quite stable now, and things like streaming video games is actually a reality that can come to fruition. Not that that's something I really want to happen, because as you know, I'm a fan of physical media, but having the option to stream all of your physical games from wherever you are, that's the perfect crossover for me. I want to own all of my media on a physical object, but I also want to be able to stream it using the internet from anywhere. And with Plex and remote play, it's actually possible to do that. Man, I remember when my brother was in college, he had this apartment that was in the basement and had these really low ceilings, but he had a PCMCIA wireless network adapter card right after wireless internet came out. And I remember spending hours trying to get that set up for him. And then finally I was just like, you know what? This technology's not ready yet. I think literally 20 years later, the technology is ready. I recently saw a quote from an author who was talking about that painful period where you're struggling to write, either because you don't know what to write, or you just have like writer's block, or you're just afraid that what you write is gonna suck. They wondered, is that period just part of the writing process? So like if you spend 2 weeks just struggling and worrying about writing and not actually writing, and then you spend another 2 weeks actually writing stuff on a piece of paper, maybe that month is writing. And it's not you did 2 weeks of writing, you did a month of writing, and that 2 weeks of pain is just part of the process. I definitely think there's some truth to that. But also for me, when I sit on something for too long, as soon as I actually do the thing, I'm like, what was I waiting for? Like, why was I so worried about starting? That initial start, it's weird how paralyzing it is. Okay, so this is basically everything I've been up to for Adventure Archive since September of 2023. We made 3 episodes from the Kumano Koto Trail, which will be represented by the Warrior of Light, Cloud, and Squall. I have edited but not yet released 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different vlogs from our time in Japan. And then we have filmed a full Colorado road trip, a traditional Adventure Archives episode in Tennessee, and another gigantic video from Japan, which we have done nothing with. I've tried to represent the size of the episode, and to be honest, these Kumano Kotos should probably just be 3 of these guys right here. And actually we did very little procrastination on these 3 Kumano Koto videos. They just took a long time to make. I would have liked to have these 5 vlogs done before we did the Kumano Koto videos, but I couldn't work on the Kumano Koto and edit these at the same time, so it was very difficult. Those will be coming out eventually. Let me tell you, editing these vlogs where the music's already done and there's no narration are nothing but pure joy. They're so much fun to edit. They're so easy and straightforward to edit. Doing these where you have to write original music and narration, oh, it's so much harder. It's so much harder. The point though is that I was hesitating on starting these 5 vlogs, and even though they're very straightforward to edit, that getting started, you're like, how do I frame these? How do I make it make sense? What happened in what order? Those are the type of things that prevent me from just getting started. And it doesn't help that the first 10 seconds of the video are very important. You have to set up the video, grab somebody's attention as best you can, and then you can get onto the easy meat of the video. But that first part, it takes some thought. The other point I wanted to make is that I don't like sitting on things for too long because my excitement for them wanes. I like filming something, coming back, editing it, still being excited about it, releasing it, and then letting it go off into the world and moving on to the next thing. Prolonging that period before I get started is not a feeling that I like. And really the solution is just to get started. That always works for me. So we will be getting started, and I'm gonna eat my way through this backlog if it's the last thing that I do. It is of course not going to be the last thing I do, and I'm gonna eat my way through this backlog, no problem. But we do need to do that. We also need to take everything off of this shelf. That's something I've needed to do for a while, and this is the perfect opportunity. You may or may not have noticed, but there's a heater here, and it requires this whole area to be free so that the hot air can circulate in the room. I've been needing to take this down for like 3 months, so that's finally down. I think I'll put the shelf up here and then move these pictures somewhere else, but that is not a task for today. But thank you very much for watching. That will do it for today's vlog. If I don't see you before the eclipse, you will see our eclipse footage on the Adventure Archives channel. My plan right now is to film it, immediately get it on the internet, title it Solar Eclipse 2024, parentheses best footage. Gotta have that algorithm get those views. Anyway, thanks again for watching. See you in the next one. Testing, test, test, okay. Do you ever have a bunch of importance, no, not important,